The day it all fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I remember the smell of brewing coffee and the faint sound of the garbage truck making its rounds down our quiet suburban street. Sarah was humming in the kitchen, packing a lunch for our daughter Lily. It was a picture of domestic bliss, a scene I had cherished for 12 years. If you'd asked me then if I was happy, I would have said, absolutely, I have everything. Little did I know, everything was a carefully constructed illusion, and I was just hours away from seeing the cracks. The first hint of trouble came in a text message that wasn't meant for me. Sarah had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to get Lily ready for school. It buzzed, and the screen lit up. A name I didn't recognize, Alex, followed by a message. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. My heart seized. Alex? Who was Alex? My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was a work colleague? A friend I hadn't met? But the message? Last night was incredible. The words echoed in my head, each one a hammer blow against the foundation of my trust. I confronted her right then and there. I wish I could say I was calm and collected, but I wasn't. My hands were shaking, my voice was strained. I held up the phone, the screen still glowing with the damning words. Who is Alex, Sarah? The color drained from her face. The humming stopped. The comfortable morning air suddenly felt thick and suffocating. At first she denied it. It was a misunderstanding, a wrong number, a joke from a friend. The lies came tumbling out, each one more desperate and less believable than the last. But I could see the truth in her eyes, the panic she was trying so hard to conceal. For the next few weeks I lived in a fog of suspicion and heartache. I became a detective in my own home, searching for clues, for anything that would either confirm my worst fears or, hopefully, prove them wrong. I checked phone records, credit card statements, her laptop's browser history. It was a dark, obsessive path, and I didn't like the person I was becoming. But I needed to know the truth. The man who was once secure and happy was now consumed by doubt, replaying every late night, at the office, every girls' night out, every slightly too long hug with a male friend. I was losing my mind, and our home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison of unspoken secrets. The evidence piled up. Hotel charges on a credit card I didn't know she had. Text message logs filled with words of affection that were clearly not for me. The picture became horrifyingly clear. It wasn't a one-time mistake. This had been going on for months. Alex was a co-worker. They'd started as friends, then it became lunch, then drinks after work, and then, well, last night was incredible. The betrayal was deeper and more calculated than I could have ever imagined. The woman I had built a life with, the mother of my child, was living a double life. The final confrontation was nothing like the first. There was no shouting, no desperate denials. I had prepared everything. I laid out the printed-out phone records and credit card statements on the dining room table, the same table where we shared family meals, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays. I laid them out like a prosecutor presenting evidence to a jury. When Sarah came home from work, she saw the display and her composure finally shattered. She sank into a chair, and the whole sordid story came pouring out, punctuated by sobs and apologies that sounded hollow and distant to my ears. She said she was sorry, that she never meant to hurt me, that she felt lost and Alex made her feel seen. Excuses. That's all they were. Reasons that did nothing to numb the excruciating pain in my chest. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. The house was silent and cold. We were two strangers living under the same roof, the air thick with grief and anger. Friends and family started to notice something was wrong. They'd call, and I'd give vague answers, not ready to voice the failure of my marriage. Everyone had their own advice. You have to leave her, some said. Think of Lily, you have to try to make it work, said others. Their words were a confusing whirlwind, but deep down, I knew that the decision had to be mine and mine alone. I spent hours just walking, trying to clear my head, trying to figure out a path forward from the wreckage of my life. Then came the day of my daughter Lily's school play. It was a big deal for her. She had a small speaking part and had been practicing for weeks. In the midst of all the turmoil, this was her moment, and I wasn't going to let our problems ruin it for her. Sarah and I agreed to a truce. We would go together, sit together, and be a family for Lily. Sitting in that school auditorium, watching the little kids in their handmade costumes, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. I looked at Sarah, who was watching Lily with tears in her eyes, a look of pride and regret all mixed together on her face. And then I looked at Lily on stage, her face so bright and full of innocent joy. In that moment, I understood what I had to do. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about Lily. It was about what was best for that beautiful little girl who deserved to be happy and feel secure, regardless of the mistakes her parents had made. After the play, as we walked to the car, the silence was different. It wasn't angry anymore. It was contemplative. Friends and other parents came up to us, congratulating Lily, telling us what a wonderful family we were. They saw the facade, the picture we were presenting. But what they didn't know was that a profound decision had just been made in my heart. When we got home and Lily was tucked into bed, I turned to Sarah. She was expecting a final verdict, a judgment. She braced herself for the inevitable. I want a divorce, but I didn't say that. Instead, I told her I forgave her. The words hung in the air, shocking her, and frankly, shocking me a little too. I explained that I wasn't forgiving her for her sake, or to save our marriage in its old form. I was forgiving her for my sake, and for Lily's. I was choosing to let go of the anger and the bitterness, because holding on to it was like drinking poison and expecting her to get sick. It was destroying me from the inside out. My reaction left her speechless. She just stared at me, tears streaming down her face, unable to comprehend. I told her that our marriage as we knew it was over. The trust was gone, and I didn't know if it could ever be rebuilt. But I was willing to try to build something new, not for us, but for Lily. We would go to counseling, both individually and as a couple. We would treat each other with respect and kindness, not as husband and wife, but as co-parents who had a shared responsibility to raise a happy, healthy child. I was choosing a path of radical grace, not because she deserved it, but because my daughter deserved a father who wasn't consumed by hatred, and a mother who wasn't crushed by guilt. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was a real beginning. A choice to build a new kind of family from the ashes of the old one, founded not on romantic love, but on a shared love for our child and a commitment to peace. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but in the end, it was the only one that felt right. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It's a journey I'm still on, and sharing it is part of the healing. If you've been through something similar or just found this story meaningful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support truly means the world. See you in the next one.